Alright, so now that we have it set up, let's take a look at a couple things. Notice as I move my cursor around this skull, where that a red line appears for the side view, showing where it's at on the model. Do you see that red laser? And then on this side over here, I have the blue moving all the way around, and then on my y-axis, I have a green. So that's going to help us to shape out our skull a little bit more. So for now, go ahead and hit B to bring up your brushes, and then M to isolate all of your brushes that start with an M, and then T for topological. And what I'm going to do is with symmetry mode on, I'm just going to go ahead and start to, from the center here, hold Alt and pull that forward until I see where that line matches. So you can see here I'm just kind of pulling this up. And it might look a little weird, right? Like you're like, okay, well, what's happening here? Because the other thing is you can go to your side view here and you can move it into place. And what starts to happen is I'm holding shift there to smooth it out. As it starts to pull funny, right? Like, we look around and we're like, okay, is that lining up? If I hit shift P, you'll notice that parts of the crevice of the skull here are getting weird. So you want to go and address that too as you move these pieces out. So I'm just kind of pulling this out. And I'm creating sort of the dome part that makes up the top of the skull. I'm not going to sculpt out the cheekbones or those cavities just yet, the eye cavities. I'm just getting a shape here, a nice little shape. Something like this. Let's bring this all the way back. Something like that. I'm going to scale my brush down. And this would be a pretty good time to go ahead and increase the size of our geometry up to 2. Kind of pull this. Just decreasing the brush size there a little bit. And what you'll start to notice is the geometry gets kind of ugly, right? Like if I hit Shift P here to hide that and then Shift F, you'll notice I get a lot of stretching down here, right? And then let's bring that back. I'm going to hit P for perspective so we can see that a little bit better. That's probably our biggest problem, why it looks so weird. Should have caught that at the beginning. Let's really bring this up a little bit more. Yeah, I was wondering why it looked a little less orthographic. So let's bring this down. Again, we're just expanding that area out. Make sure this muzzle, there we go. That's probably looking a lot better. Now what I like to do is geometry under the geometry tab, and I'll go ahead and Z remesh it. 5 is fine, just to clean up that ugly. See how those edges are going down? And that'll give us a lot more to play with. Now I'm going to go to Shift P here, and notice that I have my model still looks really bad from the top view, right? So we see that. So up here we want to go ahead and do the same, right? We want to sort of expand that out. And the trick here is to hold Alt if you want to get more exact, right? Let's bring all this out. So you want to address every part of the model. And when we get to where you're using your own reference, we're going to, you're going to be bringing your own image planes for this. So I'm going to hit Shift P here, and what I want to do is I want to start normalizing this, right? So I'm going to hold Alt, pull that out, tab it with Shift. Let's take that off for a second so you can see that. Shift P, and then Shift F to hide my wireframe. So even this part of the process, I'm holding Shift, smoothing, pulling out. I'm trying to create a really nice curvature to my skull. Don't look at the deformation, like there is a dip that goes in the side of the skull when we create the cheekbones. We'll do that later. Right now we're just looking for nice, beautiful, average normals. Let's bring that out a lot more. And there are other brushes that can do this for you, like Inflate. I'm kind of, for the time being, I'm not really, I don't want you to do that. Like, I don't want you to like use these inflate brushes just yet. I mean, they're all important tools, but sometimes we get a little tool heavy, you know, and you think about the classic ways that they used to sculpt, right? It's like, you know, clay or marble or whatever. A lot of times they just started off in respect to clay with their hands and with marble with a simple chisel, right? Let's make sure that, all right, let's bring our reference back and make sure that we are not leaving too far outside that. And that's actually pretty good because as we continue to sculpt this, right? Um, we're going to be adding a lot of this stuff like teeth and where the cheekbones go. But for now, that's pretty good. Let's make sure we didn't screw this part up too much here on the top. All right, let's double check our reference. Looks pretty good. Make sure we didn't go too crazy here. Let's go to the top here. Looks really good. Sorry, I'm kind of flipping all over the place. I didn't set the sensitivity up to my tablet. I usually set it a little bit higher for substance versus other stuff. All right, so this is where we're going to leave off on this one. That looks pretty good.